Only one.
For 23 years.
So I mean, not like you're not gonna say a lot.
Like, you have basements and then.
The big
You know, I
box
got-
are always challenging.
If I want, I got-
We usually have a couple
Well, we
residents.
don't have that.
No, but we usually have a couple residents. It's a challenge.
So, somebody's gotta go through the training every year, no?
Yeah. Yes. Change the training each year, sure. Well, when I first got on, it was like talking about how to raise the values and stuff. Now it's, then it was like how we run.
That sounds like-
And then the third one I went to
Yeah.
was like totally different. I'm just sitting there going, but like, why am I here? This is-
Well, I got a backhoe that we inherited from Billy, so I had to punch it, and it just gets put down, I got bored up with fireworks, but you know, it's just. Stuff like that.
Well, I actually saw you at the last training.
Oh, yeah, I never
That's
It's not a big.
That's my last training.
No, it's just a matter of time to do it.
Are you not gonna run for chair?
That the thing was shot at,
Sure, yeah, but
Right.
medical whoever comes
so
up.
like today,
I mean,
it
there's a lot.
stayed the way it was early.
Oh, yeah. Especially, do you have anyone that has experience?
That's it, so I'm too nice.
And then I wanna just let I'll work for.
My buddies are all going out to clients,
grants.
boy, and all that.
You know,
I
different.
mean, I love.
Oh, good.
It was Thursday.
Bring the town to be done, all the stuff that hasn't been done over the
You
years.
should consult
And
other
it's
towns.
longer, it costs more.
So I'll be a
Right,
chairman
so
on the staff.
the last 2 days, when I had time to do something.
Do you have a good clerk?
Yeah, I do.
Well, that's key.
She's like,
Back,
I turn the other do what you do. But our all town boards run by the clerk.
Yeah, our town,
Here, to get
the
a.
clerk is the heartbeat.
An EKG.
It's kind of like the county.
Yeah,
Cause like.
they think they're the
We just
law.
like to
They're-
walk
all of their
over
equipment were full of-
But you've been trained up over.
Five
Laugh at.
Maybe.
So,
Maybe fish came, and it was 7 in the morning, what, 7:30 that, Vanderbilt, they were.
Just,
So you just can't.
It's like my other guy.
I would have bet no way.
Well, yesterday was, I got out of
He said, what do you want to work?
He was a fantastic employee before he left.
You just know.
For oversight. so-
Well, and that's the thing about being.
And a long talk with her.
Is.
Oh, Jerry.
I learned a lot.
Because I know I've been the person that,
He learned.
they have to fit in between other patients.
Yeah, and like I said, for me too, they moved me up a couple things, so there's no system, no lady.
The insurance companies are not your friend.
And everybody's that way, it's not just one.
So what I,
Everybody.
he got.
One takes more attention than the other one.
Yeah, I just.
And then it went downhill from there, and he thought I was trying to screw him, and he was trying to screw me.
Yeah.
So we worked it out, he came back and. he
I went in
did a
there,
fantastic job
website, and
yesterday.
I got. Check, on Monday, 64 pages off just to print this.
Oh.
It was coming down really heavy out here just now.
Really?
I drove in.
I was double clicking that side, or was it the other side?
Not till I did Brandon, did I see it.
Left side.
My deck was a little bit white this morning.
So I'll look like it should.
Did you figure it out?
Can you do it? Quarter, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did.
How was it?
I was like, I can't do it this way. I had to run the letters in the right spot.
Pretty close to the same month, we got to build the store.
That's what I do in the morning, wait till the alarm goes off.
That's what I did.
Then I start to do that. Whenever I
This
get out
fellow
of there.
says, this doesn't I want.
That's talking about. Yeah. Wow, what's your percentage?
99.
Oh my God. You made one. 797. Well, not good for parents, but we'll just.
I know, and it gets stuck like this. And now
Yeah, You let me know when you're still. Please, Brad. Or I can just keep it. Can I ask you what you're starting?
We open and discuss.
Okay, you got the three.
Well, we're.
They got through it.
November 7th.
But this was the most. Yeah, so. But he had a bunch of- Because the winds were so high.
So now we're good. I'll be just.
No, no, I was fine.
It's the same thing.
Felt like right there. My dad and.
Yeah, the representative from the DOT's supposed to come in on the seventh of November.
He had to go off and move it in place. I
But the other,
You're fine, Dad.
and then.
Right.
After that, it's gonna be-
So, yeah, they think everybody that wants this time. Well, they also, there was like that. Like.
Yes.
You look it up in here.
Everything else. You don't talk to
Mostly. Here. Yeah.
That guy in the class over there?
Yeah. To that extent.
Yeah, I'm the only one who uses paper.
We said. Tell me how much you like you and your wife. Yeah. But I think that's why you guys come direct.
Did they?
Everybody again?
So, there was snow on it. Well, it was snow on that.
I just throw it. Yeah. I don't like.
Okay.
Yesterday, you're gonna get. Yeah, that's supporting material now.
Yeah. I.
Very much. Hey, Chris, how are you? How are you?
And we're.
I was gonna say, it's hard to hear.
And then I got. Okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna want to the site bar here.
All right, it's 9:30. We're gonna call the county board to order. There'll be a brief moment of silence for the troops, law enforcement officers, and emergency responders, followed by a prayer and pledge of allegiance. Is there anybody here who wants to do a prayer today? Supervisors? Anybody? Debbie?
Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for your goodness to us. We ask for your Holy Spirit to be in this room and to guide our decisions that we make today and guide our discussions and help us with every answer, with every vote that we honor and glorify you. We ask this in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, clerk, will do the roll call.
Showalter,
Here.
Yanis is absent today. Newman.
Here.
Schreier,
Here.
Fisher,
Here.
Condado,
Here.
Briggs,
Here.
Ottinger,
Here.
Harris, here, Hess,
Here.
Jensen,
Present.
Ives,
Here.
Zorgo,
Here.
Lopez,
Here.
Simmons,
Here.
Reed, good morning.
Morning. Here.
Good morning. Couches,
Here.
Almakinder,
Here.
Schultz,
Here.
Cushing,
Here.
Alwinski,
Here.
20 present, 1 absent.
20 present, 1 absent, we can discuss. Everybody make sure your microphones are on and speak into it so everybody can hear. Item number 4, accept the minutes of the September 17th, 2024 meeting.
Second.
Can we have a motion and a second? Is there any corrections or changes? Hearing none, all in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Presentation 2023 audit, Tina.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hello. Sure, people. Good morning. Everyone should have received in their packet, a summary memo as well as a hyperlink to the, 2023 audit report. It is posted on the county's website. I will keep it nice and short for you. I could talk all day if you'd like about that. We also have Anthony from Sickage. He is on Zoom. He's the partner from the, audit firm. Got a little chopped off there. He's up there in the top corner. So just real quick to give you an overview, and if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer those today or jot them down and then respond later. For 2023, our total revenues were 63 million. 26 million of that was from taxes. Our total expenses for the year were 59 million. 24 million of that was spent on public safety, 15 million health and human services. So in summary, of every dollar in revenue that we received in 2023, we spent 94 cents of that. For the general fund specifically, we had $34 million in revenue and $29 million in expenses. So we ended up with a favorable variance to our budget. Our year-end balances, we have 10.7 million in our stabilization, also called our rainy day fund, for the general fund, and we ended with 8.6 million in unrestricted fund balance in the general fund. I know that's a very quick summary. So again, I'm happy to field any questions you may have at this time. Feel free to call me or email me. And then I can put them down on an FAQ and get those to Tracy so that everyone on the board would see those answers. And Anthony's here if there's any questions. We did have a clean audit, meaning there weren't any flags or anything like that, but any questions, happy to answer that.
Any questions, Supervisor? I think they're scared of you, Tina.
Not me.
No questions? If you do, call Tina and she can answer them.
I just have one.
All right, go ahead.
Tina, how does the security in the broadband enter into the audit or?
Oh, the bond issue?
Yeah,
So that would be a contingent liability. It is included in our footnotes as a disclosure. But as a contingent liability, it doesn't become a liability unless there were actually a default, and then we would have to record that. So it is a footnote matter only at this point, but it's disclosed in those footnotes. And Anthony may be able to address that as well, kind of put him on a spot.
No, Tina, you summarized it correctly and accurately there, right? As a contingent liability, well, the county does, pledge the, support for that. If there were a default on that, there is not considered to be a debt of the county until, that qualifying event happened. So that's correct.
so is that the only liability we have exposure to financially right now?
No, specific to that particular transaction or just in general?
Well, just in general.
No, we have, just like I did not really cover the balance sheet items, because that's not usually something lay people are too interested in talking about. Our assets do exceed our liabilities, but we certainly have liabilities at any year end. Accounts payables, which would be vendor payments that were due at the end of the year, but we didn't pay until January. Things like compensated absences would be paid time off balances for employees at year end, that they would potentially not use until the next year or a point of termination. Things like pension liabilities. So I can go into that detail.
No, I was thinking more loans or other.
We do not have any current bond issues outstanding. We do have some smaller leases, and some subscription-based IT obligations, but nothing that would really qualify as general obligation debt.
And then final question for me is just how does the opioid money configure into all this?
That was in the general fund at the end of the year, so it would be considered a restricted part of our fund balance, not unrestricted. Because it can't be used for just general corporate purposes.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Tina? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Transition Oversight Panel, Tyler Young.
Good morning. We had a meeting last month and another one yesterday. It was directed by the executive committee to work in getting the opinion and discussion between the counties with the county board chairs. Sent out that email and it's been kind of crickets. So Tracy's been nice enough, we're gonna be sending out a Google poll, hopefully get in a room. Mary advised me we really should be, giving notice on that by November 1st. So that'll be hopefully done in quick order. That'll be communicated with the Human Service Center Board, at tomorrow night's meeting. I think the oversight panel is, besides that task, is probably, the need. I don't think is as important. I think if, Mary comes up with some things that are outside the budget, that's for the panel to review and make recommendations to the board. For quite a bit of time now, and especially I think since Mary's been put in place and now hired as a human service, director. We're not looking at the adversarial. I think atmosphere we were in with getting information. Mary's been a long time department head, running a large department in the county. And I'm confident and very comfortable with the fact that if we need information to make this happen, Mary's always accessible to us. But we have to wrap some things up with employee things such as the retirement HRA program. And I think the key thing is we don't want Oneida County to be left holding the bag. And or the 3 counties holding the bag on this. So we have to get in the room and discuss what's the best option for all 3 counties. Bad news is Mary did apply for that grant for improvements at Koinonia. We were denied that grant. So that's there was a little over $7 million, I think, being discouraged. A little over 2 million of that for rural areas. So I don't know where that grant money went. I don't know if Mary does, but I'll be tracking that because I'm just out of curiosity. I thought we had a great need in serving 3 counties in northern Wisconsin. A place. But that being said, I think in the future, you know, there's needs at the Koinonia building. And we should be maybe looking at where those monies could come in the future. I don't know if that's, you know, the opioid monies or anything like that before we send money into something that we don't get as much return, because I do think that Koinonia building and options counseling, that's its tenant does provide great service to your constituents. Any questions?
Question. Tyler, what about the lease on the Koinonia? Did that move from the Human Service Center to, from the Human Service Center to Oneida County?
That'll be moving, I don't know, say January 1.
Okay.
Technically, the lease says we have to give so many days notice, and that put us into the next year anyways, when Human Service Center doesn't exist.
All right, supervisors, any questions? Hearing none, thank you, Tyler. Broadband report, Supervisor Sorrell.
We met yesterday with the broadband team. We're still playing a hurry up and wait game on several issues. Oneida County Forest has not yet received approval on one of the sites that we'd like for our tower. So we're hurrying up and waiting on that. We're also waiting on any of the BEAD grant units, what they're going to provide us so that the different internet providers can then bid. Once we find out the units, we're hoping that one of several of the ISPs do apply. We have met with some of the town boards because they have a point system to get the BEAD money. And we met with the town board because part of that is having the board show support from the towns. We are hoping that the funding happens shortly and that we get all the information so we can put the application in, but it is not done yet. We're also working on the match grant, and that's sort of what we were talking about with our information for the bond. So we had our county, Mr. Schultz, county representative, negotiate that package, and we'll have more information to follow next time, but we're moving forward. The build out is still good in some places. You'll still be driving around our county and see a lot of build out, so we are still working on build out. There are some areas where we're not having as fast progress.
Mike Timmons.
The difference between what we're supporting Bug Tussle and what the private sector spectrum is out there doing. The maps don't show the difference. And who are we funding and what's doing what money with our Bug Tussle bonding? As far as I know, everything in my town, Highway 47, Highway E, Highway D, Highway J, is all privately, even though it's grant money, spectrum. What is our bonded money? Where is it going to in our county? That's my big question.
Okay,
And
John,
that's-
can you help me on this?
Tony couldn't answer me that question the other day because of the maps show that they have coverage now, but it's not true with our dollars.
Yeah, good morning. The funding that Bug Tussle received was bonding, and that's the red ink that we published onto the county website. Mike, I can't speak to what developments any private company is doing. I think we previously stated each of these companies holds information like that very tightly as a business secret or business opportunity or whatever they call it. There would likely be some federal money that the provider is receiving. So I would say that if you asked you're asking me which particular company?
Is it Spectrum's the one that's
Okay.
been putting stuff in the ground all over?
We could pick on 2 or 3 others too, because I'm aware of other companies that are also putting in conduit, and in some cases fiber. Some of them are putting conduit in for future unknown opportunities. Some are blowing in the fiber because they have immediate orders for it. They have immediate people that want it. There is opportunities for that company to receive federal money, Mike. You may want to.
I'm curious of our money that we, as the county, has spent, that we know where it is, and that these other companies aren't getting the credit for it, that we're not wasting our money, and that our money goes to our county residents that need it, not for duplication of services.
Yeah,
And
well,
like I said, the spectrums weren't part of the red maps, and that was part, you knew the areas I was talking about, the D's and J's, E. They came through and I get all the right-of-way permits through the town, and it has nothing to do with Bug Tussle.
I'm aware of a few places where there's 4 pieces of conduit with 4 different providers all running through the same right of way. And none of them talking to each other. All of them with subcontractors, all of them doing their own thing. One thing I would say on that, Mike, as we indicated previously, competition, or in some cases, what you could also call duplication, is generally good for the consumer.
Like I said, I'm just asking because the work is not being done. The right-of-way permits is what I'm working off, period. That only one company is coming in, and our Bug Tussle money, our money is not being.
Well, I was on the job site Thursday in Woodruff and saw county money being spent in Woodruff on Thursday, where Michaels was putting in conduit.
And they're working under Spectrum's name.
No, they had Michaels equipment out on the highway. They were punching in conduit for Bug Tussle. Right on
Highway 47, so it'd be his, not on any crossings on side roads.
on J, back to J. And that's right on the town line.
They haven't asked for permission to cross their roads.
Did they stay on the Aqua side of the road?
No, they're right in front of my yard.
Well, they're on our
It's on
county highway.
his
There are highway superintendent's highway, so I don't know how that fits with,
But when they've been out on E and J, they ask permission to cross the roads usually,
okay.
but they haven't.
And when I asked the Public Service Commission very early on in this process. Where are you at with like, do you have a general utility map or a clue? As to where a person would get that? Well, no, they're not gonna do that. They're not gonna hand that out. They interchangeably call it either a homeland security issue. Someone's gonna maliciously go in and attack these infrastructures or cut them apart or blow them up or whatever. Or it's a trade secret or a business secret. Yeah, when they come in and get the permits from our county highway commissioner, I don't know of anybody that's viewed that as a record that's not available to the public. So I guess you could piece that together, Mike, if you needed to, you could go back and
Cause it's
Yes.
usually Sunrise,
pardon.
Sunrise is whose name's been on a lot of paperwork from Michael's doing the work.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with which subcontractor you're talking about. I do know I facilitated several questions that we've had from a number of subcontractors on everything from how do you get this gate opened up? Who owns this property? We show it, who owns it on a plat map, but can you tell me who this is? And I do that for them. I tell them this is so and so, this is where they work. You can contact them. So I have facilitated those discussions, and I said here very early on with our county board, when you're making policy decisions, you do want competition. You want somebody competing with Charter. You want somebody, as odd as it sounds, you want somebody competing with Bud Tussle. You want somebody competing with Elon Musk. I've referred several people to Elon Musk to have very good, very reliable internet. And the cost is different. If there's another provider at some point, I've been told, and this is in the public sector, so I read it. Motorola is trying once again, they walked away from it one time. They walked away from a $500 million investment. They're doing it again. They're talking about taking on Elon Musk with satellite communications. So if you're an Elon Musk user in here, you may have another potential person competing. And as a consumer, that's generally a good thing. So I can't speak to directly what monies that they've got in the federal government. I do know, you know, I said early on, the red ink that was approved in the grant is primarily what the county board decided is gonna be the policy of the idea to do some bonding.
I guess my question is, the competition's been a ton of press and we're having the same thing. Spectrum's been very aggressive in a good way. But we have a utility accommodation, so they have to come and get the permit from us. But initially, my town wasn't in the first wave of Bud Tussle. Whatever they're doing. Is there still plans for Bud Tussle to come into the towns that aren't in the original thing? To put in the utility, and if so, now once it's there. Can private companies access that and use it?
Well,
Or are we gonna have
let me answer,
four different
let me
lines?
answer the first question.
Yeah.
Our supervisor talked about, our Sorgel talked about the BEAD grant briefly. I had a supervisor come and ask me a question a few minutes before the meeting started. Absolutely, the intent is on all of these fallouts that don't, I'm gonna call them fallouts, because I think everyone in this room understands what it means. It means somebody who doesn't have a current provider who's gonna go in front of their house. His or her house. They want broadband, they don't have it. How are we gonna get that to them? That's what the state is calling a BEAD grant.
Okay.
So in cases like, I'll use Little Rice and Nokomis as good examples. I'm aware of tremendous amount of interest and growth in some of those rural areas like Little Rice and Nokomis. I've gone and seen that firsthand. I've seen some of the areas down by Jennings in Enterprise over western, extreme eastern Oneida County, western Oneida County, seen them both. Those fallouts are intended to be picked up in the BEAD grant. We've been patient. We had a meeting yesterday with the Public Service Commission. We tried to see if he would share some of that information with us, and he said, well, no, he can't give that to Oneida County because we asked, but I said, why not ask? And he has no intention of telling us when they're gonna hear from the federal government, but this has been going on since June 1st. They delay it a month, they delay it a month, they delay it a month. The BEAD grant will tell us a little more of that, of these fallouts, Rob, to answer your question. So areas where there is no current provider is where the BEAD grant is intended to come through and clean up these houses. And how many fallouts were there, Colette? What was the number?
5,646.
Yeah. They've got a map to prove that. And I'm not, other than saying that the state has a map to prove it, I don't know that that number is necessarily very accurate. I would question that.
It has moved too.
Yeah, when does a hunting shack become a house? When does, I know what people want with the NFL package at their hunting shack. I'm very familiar with that. So these homes that are also, they might look like a garage, except in the month of November and December when ice fishing and deer hunting they also want broadband. So we'll see about that number.
Questions?
No,
Are you done?
yeah, I'm good, yeah, thank you.
Connor?
In this update going forward, could we get just an update on how many miles have been installed or, what progress, and then how many houses or people have been connected?
I can sure get the miles completed.
Okay.
I can bring that to the next county board meeting. All I have to do is ask.
Yeah, I think that'd be very helpful just to see, and then also how many have connected, because I know in order for the product to be successful, I know that might be down the road if they don't have that yet. But we're not having people switch from Spectrum or sign up new service. The bug tussle project's not gonna be very successful.
Good question.
Any other questions? Stop. Okay. Stephen, go ahead.
In regards to the BEAD funding, it mentions that there are 4 letters of intent that have been received. And then it goes on to say that we, the board, would decide via resolution or endorsement about supporting ISP or ISPs. So can we split up that funding between more than one ISP depending on who's interested in putting in fiber where? Is that permissible in the grant?
As I understand, the grant is going to have 1 unit. So with that 1 unit, we would have to go with 1 company, isn't that correct?
Yeah, to that specific question, I don't have the answer for that.
Yeah, they give us that impression that we would have to
The
pick
grant
1.
guidance on that. It would make sense, though, Stephen, that we would have a company provide us with a competitive proposal. And I don't know that they want to be running fiber out to some location and then have to stop. And then this portion is gonna go to another company. This portion is gonna go to them. I would say my instinct would be that they would write us a proposal that's strong enough that we could see that that's clearly the best recommendation for the county is 1 provider. But I just don't know that. That's not a question I've asked.
Well, I guess the reason I bring it up or ask is, where, you're talking about over 5,600 households or places. But they're not all gonna be in the same place. I assume they're spread out all over the county. And we're hearing about how there's now a lot of people putting in fiber all over the place. Well, if you got someone who's already put fiber in nearby any of these places, you would think it would behoove us to work with someone who already has or is going to intend to be working in that area, rather than one ISP provider who's gonna have to hopscotch like all over the place for the next 5 years to spend on the BEAD grant, which means there's a community or communities who may wait 5 years needlessly because you got one ISP guy putting in fiber all over, all over the county. I wouldn't see the logic to going that route, but then again, it is funded through the government, so it probably comes with its own logic.
That's one of the hurry up and wait questions we're waiting for.
It's good to
This
laugh.
was available to us, by the way, on June 1st. And it's now October.
Yeah,
Okay. June 1st was the date that I was looking forward to visiting with this group of county board members who would have given us some policy direction, and it's now mid-October.
well, I just think if you were one of those people in that group of people, and it's a significant group of people, you'd probably want to know more or less definitively, am I going to have to sit and wait, or is there a possibility the BEAD grant funding can be used between more than one ISP? So maybe you put out bids that only cover certain areas and not the entire 5,600 individuals. And again, I'm not asking you to answer the question, I'm just like, I would like to know, even though I live in Rhinelander, likelihood anyone else is coming in here, putting more fiber in is probably gonna be pretty small, but outside of town, I'm guessing there's a lot of communities that are gonna see potentially 4, maybe 5 providers in their neighborhood, which is great for them.
Well, you'll see with the recent ownership, and I wanna just make this point one more time for our full board. Verizon bought Frontier. Okay, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. That's an 18-month, that's a 6-month. 6 to 8 months do business like you used to do business, so Frontier is still out there acting like Frontier right now. In 8 months, the light bulb is gonna go on in some of these corporate offices. You have to actually return phone calls. You have to actually be responsive to consumers. Know that material that you're sending out, DSL is not internet. It's never was intended to run high-speed internet off of DSL. DSL is not fiber. You can dress it up and make it look good, but it's not. That's all gonna change dramatically. So in the Rhinelander market, for example, Stephen, you will see Verizon take a run at these other carriers. You will see it. AT&T is out there with putting in loads of fiber. Verizon's still putting in fiber. Verizon will want a part of that Rhinelander market. And that's gonna be good for the consumer in Rhinelander. You'll have a choice between Verizon, potentially AT&T, and your current cable provider. And they'll bundle everything up. Verizon likes to bundle stuff up too. With, of course, they wanna sell you a mobile phone. At the same time, they send you a signal to your house. So those are all good things to report. And that industry, the last time that they didn't get gobbled up, everybody was shocked that Frontier came out of that. With some new capital investors out in New York, they thought for sure it was gonna go bankrupt, it didn't. So.
No, I'll be cautiously optimistic. It sounds more like sheep and wolves clothing than the other way around when it comes to Verizon and Frontier. But that being said, it does, more or less say that these ISPs will be submitting their proposals directly to the county. I'm assuming we'll have some kind of guidelines that we have to follow in regards to those bids, from the BEAD grant itself.
Proposals, those are being handled at the level with Colette, so my recommendation to the board would be. If you have opinions and thoughts and direction or ideas, get those to Colette, because as Colette represents the board at these monthly meetings. That's the direction we're going. We are definitely not doing bids. These are proposals, and if one proposal stands out. As a better proposal than others, those are what we're gonna come back and recommend to the board. And for the same reason, driving through a neighborhood full of X, Y, or Z company to make two connections, Stephen, point well taken. That would be a great example of getting that provider to go ahead and hook those two up. And not be putting in 10 miles of new fiber to catch a subdivision. You know, over in Jennings, or over in extreme eastern Oneida County.
Any other questions for John or Colin?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, John.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go on item 6, public comment. Anybody in the audience want to make public comment? I think we just have staff here. We'll move on to consent agenda.
Move approval of consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Anybody want to pull one of the resolutions? Hearing none, all in favor signify aye. I gotta do roll call.
I was just gonna ask.
No, we gotta do roll call, I'm sorry. Roll call.
Reed,
Aye.
Cushing.
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Ives,
Aye.
Almakinder,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Hess,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Showalter,
Aye.
Newman,
Aye.
Ottinger,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Lopez,
Aye.
Timmons,
Aye.
Couches,
Aye.
Condado,
Aye.
Schreier,
Aye.
Sorgel,
Aye.
Harris,
Aye.
Colowinski,
Aye.
20 aye, 1 absent.
20 aye, 1 absent, the consent agenda passes. Item number 8, resolution 97, 2024, offered by the supervisor of the Social Service Committee, approving the feasibility study and implementation plan to consolidate the Department of Community Programs, which was the Human Service Center of Forest, Oneida, and Vilas County, and the United County Department of Social Services into the United County Human Service Department. Rob?
And after further review. I'm gonna offer an amendment to the resolution, and that was a result of Tracy and Tina and Mary getting together, looking at it. So we're asking to, the motion is to strike line 62 through 67. And add on line 68, the following, which would be longer than 68. Be it further resolved, in regards to fiscal closeout of the Tri-County Human Service Center Board, the Oneida County Human Service Department will be responsible for year and fiscal closeout matters in consultation with the Oneida County Finance Department and the outside counsel retained by the 3 counties pursuant to Oneida County Resolution number 65, 2024. And will report to the County Transition Oversight Panel and the Oneida County Human Service Board. And that any matters related to final resolution and settlement of the Tri-County Human Service Center Board assets will be subject to approval by and between the county boards.
Is there a second to the?
Second.
Motion and a second to amend.
And Mary will explain that. It's actually just kind of added some checks and balances, I think, in the law. Mary?
Go ahead, Mary.
Good morning. Yeah, so we, just wanted to make sure that the language was very clear that really the Oneida County Human Service Department just wants to make sure that the 2024 fiscal closeout of the Human Service Center is completed accurately and timely. And that's really our state reporting. As you know, we have a number of state fiscal reports, program reports. It will take us till June 30th, 2025 to completely close out all of the fiscal and program reporting for what is now the Human Service Department. It just makes sense for Oneida County Human Services to do that. We're retaining the staff that are currently doing that. And we certainly have the knowledge and expertise to do that very accurately. The difference is the closeout or the closing of the Human Service Center and the assets. You know, what is available to the 3 counties, how that is all split up. that is outside of the Human Service Department. And that would be between the fiscal consultant, the finance directors, and certainly the Oneida County, Bucks County and Forest County boards. So that larger piece of closing and ending services at the Human Service Center really will come to this board on how those assets are distributed. The department's concern is, like I said, just making sure the fiscal reporting is done so that we're maximizing federal and state funding. And that all program reports and everything that's due to the state of Wisconsin is completed timely.
And Mary, I understand that the finance directors from the other two counties are on board with this amendment.
Didn't hear the other. Yes, been having to cheer.
Any questions for me? Supervisors? No. Billy, go ahead.
Mary, you know my sensitivity to making sure the county's not in a position where they're exposed to financial or legal liabilities. And I get lost in the wording, but this isn't committing the county to being exposed to workman comp's claim or other matters that were from that entity.
Yeah, no, anything regarding the closeout of payroll or any of those things, we will be working with the financial consultant and the county county finance directors. So that it shouldn't expose us. It's pretty much just general reporting that would be done, that has been done by the Human Service Center for years. And we're just gonna make sure it's done.
Thank you.
Sheila?
Mary, as I understand it, this resolution needed to be more or less approved by various state agencies. Now we're amending it, so what potential issue is that going to cause?
Yeah, the resolution itself didn't really need to be approved by the state agencies. The implementation plan had to be approved. So that has been approved. And that's why we're here today. The Department of Corrections, the Department of Health Services, and the Department of Children and Families all received our implementation plan. And we have received approval from all three state agencies. So really, this is the final step in creating a human service department for Oneida County. It's been a long time coming. The resolution itself, really, if you look at other county resolutions, they don't really have language around the fiscal because it's typically a county department to a county department. And it's kind of just assumed that's what would happen, but with 3 counties involved in this, we just wanted to make sure the other counties were aware and that the state Department of Health Services is aware that we'll take on that responsibility of reporting.
Well, will there be something recognized by the other 2 counties to this respect as well?
I believe at least I've shared the resolution with my counterparts and that they'll probably have similar language in their resolutions.
Any other questions for Mary on the amendment? Okay, clerk will call the roll on the amendment.
Simmons,
Aye.
Cushing,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Harris. Aye. Newman,
Aye.
Condado. Aye. Briggs,
Aye.
Showalter,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Hess,
Aye.
Couches,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Lopez. Aye. Sorrel,
Aye.
Ives,
Aye.
Almakinder,
Aye.
Schreier,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Ottinger,
Aye.
Kalowinski,
Aye.
20 aye, 1 absent.
20 aye, 1 absent. Resolution 97 2000 is amended. Discussion on the amended resolution. Anybody? Okay, clerk will call the roll.
Briggs,
Aye.
Ives,
Aye.
Harris. Aye. Sorrel,
Aye.
Condado. Aye. Couches,
Aye.
Almakinder,
Aye.
Showalter,
Aye.
Timmons,
Aye.
Hess,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Lopez. Aye. Ottinger,
Aye.
Cushing,
Aye.
Schreier,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Newman,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Kalowinski,
Aye.
20 aye, 1 absent.
20 aye, 1 absent. Amended resolution 97 2024 passes. We move on to resolution 98, 2024, offered by the supervisors of the Public Works Committee to recommend that the county board approve moving forward with extensive renovations in the Lander Highway facility. Ted?
Alex. Alex has been a great contributor to this process, I can tell you that much. He came up to me, I want to say 3 months ago, maybe even 4 months ago, and said, you know, I'm planning on being here till I retire. And I really would like to know where we're gonna stand. Is this facility, or are we gonna build a new? And that's where all this conversation started. I think it was November 2000 or July 2015 when the building of the new facility was voted down by the board. So why don't you pitch in, Alex, and then we'll go to questions.
Yeah, so as Ted mentioned, this kind of came up a few months back, just looking at kind of a long range plan for our Rhinelander facility. As you mentioned, back in 2014, 2015, there's a lot of discussion that took place regarding new facility, some major upgrades, things like that. Ultimately, the board voted to stay where we're at. And it looks like back in 2017, there's another report, a study completed, looking at various remodel, renovation ideas. Since that time, several have been implemented. Two that come to mind are we upgraded our HVAC and both the front shop and our back shop, the main facility. But there are still quite a few upgrades out there. Over the past couple of years, we did install a new fuel system and completed the Bryan building construction. Both of those were not part of the initial report in 2017. Outside of that, some of the major upgrades that we're going to be looking at in the near future are our full electrical system, distribution, wiring that needs to be upgraded. And then a variety of other upgrades. So we're trying to figure out what the long range plan looks like, what kind of funding looks like. Trying to put a plan together so that we're not completing the project, say next year, that then we get to 27 and we're like, well, we should have done this differently. So the whole idea was trying to come up with some sort of a plan so that we can do these things, these upgrades in a efficient schedule, and efficient plan. And so the Public Works Committee discussed a variety of different options as well. And kind of before we got to a preliminary design, any engineering, anything like that, kind of wanted to get a feel of what direction the county board wants us to go. Like I said, it's been about 10 years since that initial discussion about a new facility. And the committee felt that some major renovations are needed, and that's why this resolution is in front of you today.
Any questions for
Scott,
Mike?
I'll make a comment. I guess I'm one of the ones that push this forward, if you will. Been on the committee for a long time now, and it's come back. We've sent requests in for the KIP funding, this back and forth, admin to KIP. And it keeps coming back, and this last year, we've sent in a few requests, and well, that's a lot of money to spend, and this, that, and the next thing, and how can they tell me the highway department come up with these monies? And I said, we're playing ping pong or volleyball, and we gotta do something. I said, let's bring it back here to the county board. In 2015, we made the motion to keep it and move forward with some renovation. Okay, damn near 10 years later, and we haven't done half of it. We gotta do something to make it up. Somewhere we're gonna have to come up with the money. Either build or whatever, we're a disaster away of having nothing. I pulled in the parking lot today and we're in, how many year old building is this? You can't even get in the parking lot because what are we doing? Improvements. We're putting windows in it next year. We keep fixing up old buildings, which there's nothing wrong with them. Skeletons are good. But we have to make a decision to move forward, because the cost of this stuff is going up and up and up. And it's not fair to the highway department to turn their backs to them anymore. That's all I'm gonna say.
Rob,
Some things just never seem to go away. You can look back at 2015 and the vote was to not to counter. That was the vote, not to counter. We had three options to consider. And if I remember correctly, when we got to 2015, the vote was 10-9 or whatever it was, not to counter. There wasn't the desire to even look at options 2 and 3. Because I think the feeling on it was that this board wasn't ready to borrow anything. To bond for anything. So here we sit with the 1955 building or 54, depending upon when the construction started. And you can continue to band-aid that building all you want. But the majority of that structure is inefficient. And I don't know how you fix it with the existing structure. So I guess I'm at that point where I think we need to step back. Do a study again. I don't think it's gonna take much to update it. You can look at moving to a new location. If that makes sense, it makes sense. I think you gotta demo buildings. To make it, have you seen the cold storage, folks? The door's open 24/7, 365 days a year. Hasn't changed. When they do mechanic work, they open the door. And they do mechanic work in the entryway. It takes a whole new renovation to make. I think you need a new building. I think we need to look at, we never took the time to ask for an economic feasibility study. If we sold that site, what would be the economic impact for the city of Brandon or Oneida County? Oh, we don't want to consider that. So I think we have to take a step back, contact whoever, do an entire new site analysis, figure out how things have changed, and whether or not we should look at a different location. And I think we can get that done in 8 months, and we'll be back in June of 2025 making a decision. I am not in favor of continuing to band-aid that thing. It's just you're just throwing money away. So that's my 2 cents. And
okay, well, one comment, just so we get the record straight, the vote on July of 2015, the motion was by Van Rock, second by Cushing, to postpone resolution 55 indefinitely. The vote was 16 aye, 3 no, 2 absent, so it wasn't 10-9.
I think there's another vote there somewhere.
Well, that was the vote back then, and then on the minutes that canceled out that.
Right.
After that, there was, I can't find in the record any direction where it said we were going to take Barriento's recommendations and we were gonna complete all those. Since then, we built the Bryan building, so we moved the Bryan facility out of the old shop, built a $750,000 building. There is 3 new parking spots heated for that. When I look at this, and I don't know over the years, Billy, if you took this to the administration committee, but I don't remember hearing all these things brought up in the KIP presentations since I've been on the committee. So I don't know how that worked in the past, but when I look at this, we have a policy that all departments submit to what used to be the administration team is now the executive team. The executive team takes that, prioritizes what's best for the county. Right now, between 2025, 26, and 27, we got $22 million of KIP projects coming up. And now we're asking for this. My recommendation to the board is that we turn this down, have the Public Works Committee submit prices to the KIP committee or the executive committee, and the executive committee tries to work some of these improvements into there. That'd be my recommendation. Otherwise, I think the resolution is very vague, and if we pass it today, it's like an open checkbook.
Scott,
Mike,
come back at that. That is what I'm trying to stop, because this is what we've done. We've taken this electrical back, it goes to the generator system and everything else, and it goes to the KIP fund and come back maybe next year, the year after. We had the electrical in it this year, asked to take it out because all we're doing is playing ping pong with this highway department. The KIP can go to wait till next year. It can wait till next year. And that's where it's been for the last 2 years, 3 years. And we're not going forward on any of the project. We've gone backwards, but we get this much of what's to ask.
Well, and so I'm just gonna comment on, I think the county board has been pretty good to the highway department and capital improvements, and it's prioritized. If you would have said, instead of doing road work, we need to do the building.
Well, that's totally different.
But like.
Do we stop the court system from working so we can fix the sidewalks?
I'm not gonna argue. All right, Billy.
I love the analogy of ping pong and volleyball. I like to use Ganip as a game of play. So I feel like the net in the middle, and I really applaud Mike for being vocal about trying to see where we're at. We had a conversation, Mike and I, where I sit on the highway committee. I'm rather new compared to the other ones on the committee, and I'm like, yeah, I see the need for this and that, but where are you gonna get the funding? And Mike said to me, hey, that's your job. You guys gotta figure out the funding. We're just telling you what we need. And it's obvious, and Scott is correct. My history is, I don't remember a whole lot being denied when coming to the county through the KIP process for money out of the general fund. And the concern you'll hear probably next month when we talk about the budget is, as we use money out of the general fund, it's been noticeable over the last 3 years how our balance is going down. And understanding what's out there for the future, not just for highway, it's gonna be hard to be sustainable for the next 5-10 years. In conjunction to what the highway's asking, the executive committee has given the finance director permission to seek funding options such as bonding. So it'd be new funding that's not available to us right now that we could consider for possibly using towards the highway department, not just for the facility. We have to look at the 2 million or close to 2 million we're putting into construction each year. As well as the equipment needs that you've seen with the $1 million once you put together a truck to maintain the roads. These are costly items, so I think it's good for the county to look at and bring you back some options to possibly consider. The downside of it is it means we need to tax our constituents more to get that type of funding, but that'll all be spelled out for you. For this resolution, I've been part, like I said, I felt like the net at a lot of the meetings. The highway committee, and I'm on it, and I support this resolution because it kind of puts the mindset, hey, we have some big dollar items that need to be funded. Are you committed to doing it? Or are you gonna turn us back to funding and the KIP process and going back and forth? I think I have a lot of confidence in Alex and the team he's put together over there. If you could sit in on our meetings and the options he brings you, and you talk about the challenges, and he always says, I'll do whatever, I'll do whatever you want me to. Depending on what funding I have. He's done a great job for this 25 budget of maximizing the opportunity to use other outside funding through grants and that. It did cost us as a county a little more money, but in the long run, it's to the benefit of our county. So I think this resolution is just asking, hey, are you guys committed to helping us, committing dollars to improving it? We're certainly gonna come back to you with what those projects are, but we wanna know that you'll work hard to get the funding for the things we need to move the highway department forward.
Mitch.
My question is, when we had that motion to not counter the sale of it, is that a done deal? We can't go back to that? Is that gonna be part of this resolution? Or the sale of it?
I don't know, Quick Trip doesn't have an offer on the table, right?
I know, because we voted not to even counter them. But,
Correct.
like Rob said, we didn't even consider the economic development and what it would do for the whole, area. Somebody made a motion and boom, shot it down. We didn't even look at a counter to them, because if you take the amount of money that they were offering, if we countered it, it offsets these prices and we don't have to keep kicking it down the road and putting a Band-Aid on. So is that gonna be in a resolution that we can still approach them? They approached us, we never approached them. Can we go back and approach them and see if they're still interested?
Rob, help me out, you and me are the only two left from that subcommittee. It was talked about counter offers, but the county board at that time decided not to go after a counter offer, right?
That's correct. And then I think what happened at Quick Trip was, I mean, they're a big corporation. They don't have to work with a lot of governmental bodies very often. They're working with a private sale for the property. I don't know where they're at. They may or may not be. I know that I've heard Quick Trip is looking at expanding in Missouri. I mean, they look out 4 or 5 years whether they are, but we don't know. With the addition of the cobblestone across the street, I don't know what the value is to other potential private people. In terms of the value of that property, if somebody would be interested. And again, I don't know if that's a good thing, but I'd like to be able to look at, okay, well, if you went and took a look at building again somewhere else, what's the value of that property? But if we stay there, I'm okay with that too, but I think if we stay there, we need significant improvements. When you're talking, we're tearing down walls. In rebuilding things. And I think we're gonna have to bond, we're gonna have to borrow for the first time in a long time, and we're in a good position to do that. So I mean, I'm not here to just 2015 or whatever, but looking to the future, what's in the best interest. I mean, how many years ago did we decide that the law enforcement part of this building didn't make any sense? And we moved to a new location. So I just wanna make sure we cover all the options. Some may be good, some may be bad, but you only need to go back and forth and make decisions.
So I'm not opposed, I think Mitchell and Rob both make great points of renovating or building a new building. My one concern in this resolution, maybe it should be amended, is that we don't say anything about potentially building new, it's all just renovations. And if you think about Rhinelander as a whole, we're completely landlocked, surrounded by townships, there's no building opportunities. That land is, I would think, worth more than double what it was in 2014. Especially with the new hotel going up across the street, now Culver's, the Quality Inn renovations. It is a great location, probably not the best location from a monetary standpoint for like the highway department to be in, because they could be not anywhere, but they could be in a different location. So, if we were to get a bid or potential proposal on that property, I would think it'd be significantly higher than it was before, probably not from Quick Trip, since they already have 2 locations in town. But looking at that for, housing development or something else, but we don't talk about that at all in the resolution. I'm completely not opposed to building a completely new facility somewhere else or renovating, but I think that needs to be looked at, the feasibility and the economic impact. Just putting it out there, just from a resolution standpoint.
Scott.
Just a comment, maybe, because in the resolution where it says on line 37, remodeling existing vehicle repair garage. I don't really know what that means, or, how much are you gonna, and I think if you're going to, maybe we can change the resolution to do the feasibility and stuff like Rob talked about, which I would be more comfortable with than just saying remodel existing parking garage, remodel, so there's no detail or potential cost in here. I'd be more open, and then the TIP committee has to decide, do we stop any 2024 remodelings to the thing, to the building, instead of putting that money so we can tear it down later on?
It was taken away out of the KIP projects for next year, the electrical wasn't it?
Yeah, I think we left $100,000 in there just for potential
Studies.
planning, any engineering that had to be done, or any, if for some reason.
And the intent, not to interrupt him, the intent of my comments to get this in a resolution form, I was involved. Everybody knows me, when I talk, I'm a lot more blunt. There's a saying about something or get off the pot. That's what I said we have to do with this whole thing. One way or another, we have to act. This county board killed it back in 2015. We haven't done anything since. Build new, remodel, whatever it is, but we cannot keep dragging it on and wasting the highway department's time chasing, fixing projects versus rebuilding projects versus real estate projects possibly. He's supposed to fix highways. And I think that's where we have to take it and take the responsibility of the county board and do our jobs of doing some of the work. Like I said, it's just getting it over the hump of back and forth, whatever game Billy wants to play with it. That's right. Like I said, I personally don't care one way or another where it goes. We just gotta go somewhere with it. We've been, Scott, you were on the highway a lot longer than I was.
And there's 7 of us that were here in 2015, and only one of the 7 voted not against that resolution. So the rest of us voted along with the other 16. Ted,
This, long that long ago, when we were sitting here arguing about what to do with the solid waste building. I mean, that conversation plays very closely with what we're talking about today. What are we gonna do, repair a trailer? Or we're gonna build a new building? Why would we build a new building out there? I mean, there were people, some of the board supervisors that were here, that aren't here any longer, said, well, you can put up a soul building and use that. And what did we do? We built a brand new building. We paved the road all the way down to the Highway K. And the thing is running like a gem and making money for the county. And this is some more conversation. We need to pass her get off the pot.
Thank you.
It's just that it's not a simple thing to talk about, but we gotta get going and moving on it in one way, one direction.
Stephen, I think you had your hand up next.
Well, I mean, it appears the only option we're given with this resolution is to fund a remodel. Because there's no mention about reaching out to anyone to see if they're interested in selling property, et cetera, so. Just for that reason alone, I would not support it. I don't want the county to have its hands tied until you've at least had some definitive answer in regards to that, because. If Connor's right, and we're talking about maybe it being worth twice, that's a big chunk of money to offset whatever it is you wanna do. And I would wanna know what that is. The other thing is, and there's even just little things in here, but not limited to, well, what the hell does that mean? You guys just gonna add anything and everything in here as time goes by? I mean, I don't. Very well intentioned, I totally agree with everything everybody said. I mean, I wish that we had been a little more forward thinking, almost not 10 years ago. But apparently, we're now paying that price, and unfortunately, when you look at the numbers quoted in here, I can't imagine any of these are even close to what they're gonna be now, whether they're renovation or a new building. So you tell me what the square footage cost of new construction comparable for that. It's
Better
gonna
than
be
$500 a square foot.
okay, and what are we talking square feet here altogether? That's a pretty significant project out there. Is my guess, so. But at the same time, you're looking at what were they estimating the cost back then, almost 10 years ago, on option 2. I mean, 5.5 million? What is it now? We all know what they want. I mean, if we didn't have someone who was watching about generators and things like that, we would have got gouged so bad. And how do we know that we're not gonna be paying a premium now, post-COVID, on all this stuff that we took a pass on the last 10 years? I'm gonna guess you can probably almost be guaranteed on it. Look at what we're paying just for the trucks we ordered. I mean, oh my God, I can't believe when those numbers came in. I just couldn't believe it. But at the same time, you're not gonna get 8 new trucks and put them in the facility you got now. Where are you gonna put them? Can you even get them through the door? I don't know. I don't know enough about it. I'm gonna trust you guys that are on Public Works to know better. But I wouldn't support this resolution as written today. I think that this needs to be, frankly, just be tabled. Make sure someone is given the job to reach out and see if that offer is still out there, if they're remotely interested, or if anyone is. Maybe you need to solicit a realty or agent and see what that would be. Get it appraised, get some idea of the true value of it. So we know what we're working with.
Dan is next.
A couple things. As you know, I've been around for a long time, since the early nineties. No, not along with some of you have been, but the highway shop has always been a mess. It hasn't, you got a building that's 74 years old. I go around and look at other counties' highway shops, they're very nice. They're newer buildings, I agree with Connor. The city there's huge potential for economic development in that area of the city, huge. So I think there was a mistake made a few years ago with you could have built a new facility for 9 million or 10 million. The county has not had a loan that I'm aware of since 1998 with the law enforcement center. And I believe that was paid off early, if I remember right. I'm not a big proponent of getting a loan, because it's basically increasing taxes. But something has to be done out there. We can't keep band-aiding stuff. I hope everyone has gone through the old buildings, checked them all out. It's bad. And go down and check Lincoln and some of those other highway shops. Oneida County is probably one of the worst ones around. I'm not saying anything bad about how you're running or anything, Alex, but I do think we have to do something progressive here to get that building squared up. We did it out at the landfills and it's beautiful. I mean,
Just to clarify on Dan, when we built the sheriff's department, we took out a loan for 7 years, paid $2 million a year, never took it off the tax roll. Cause people were used to paying it. Most of us didn't know that happened.
that's not my fault.
I know it was your fault. But that 2 million a year stayed, and that's why we've had such a healthy balance over the years. Connor's next.
Well, I think actually Mitchell.
Okay, I was just gonna. How, I heard the word table the resolution, and I get confused when you table or, they go away forever, and that's why I was asking earlier about the sale of it. It didn't go away forever, did it?
Well, offer went away.
Well, because we didn't counter it. We just told them, no, we're not interested.
Back then.
Can we go back and solicit people, and how do we do that? Do we need another subcommittee or? Cause I agree with everybody that's saying this, the way this resolution is like a no-go, because 9 million. Back then, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about $6 or $8 million of renovation.
All right, I'm gonna let Andy try to input on that a little bit.
Okay.
What the proper procedure would be since that was done in 2015.
Going to.
Well, he's saying, should we go out and look for somebody to purchase the highway? Do we look at a new site? Do we remodel? I think that's what you're asking, right?
So one of the first questions you have to ask in regards to county acquiring property and when they want to sell it is, how did we get that? I'm assuming that was not taken in rem, meaning foreclosed through a tax process. So it has a separate process in regards to how it's dealt with. So if the county bought that outright, then it can choose how to sell it. Then the question is, what's the best process for this? Obviously, everybody's talked about the economic growth. Over there, they want to specifically target Quick Trip. One of the things I've seen in the past is you put together a proposal or ask people if they're gonna be interested, but you can choose who you send that to. You could specifically send it to Quick Trip and say, if you wanna make an offer at this point, we're open. Otherwise, we're gonna be looking at, doing more. Obviously, you don't wanna put yourself in a position of fixing, you don't want to put yourself in a bad negotiation position by focusing on and fixating on Quick Trip. Who knows who will want to be interested in that. So that's one thing. And also that's something that you'd want to think about after you decide you're going to build. I mean, I'm looking at the resolution right now and I'm just looking at this, and I remember my experience of building the Justice Center in Monroe County and how they did not focus. They focused on the bottom line to the detriment of the county, in my perspective. 400 and some change orders to a project because all they worried about was money being spent.
I, as a constituent, and when I was on the county board, always wanted to look at functionality. What's my cost for functionality? And when I look at the costs that were there in 2014, you can see per year how much they're projecting it would cost to get the functionality you're looking for every year. So that's something I think you might want to consider and discuss further. And that's it.
Okay, maybe to get good. Back in 2015, probably about 2013, we created a highway facility evaluation committee. And that's the committee that brought to the county board the three options that the county board discussed in July. So I don't know if we should, at this point, create that committee again to evaluate it and look at the things that Rob and them are talking about, or send it to the highway committee. I don't know. Rob?
I think my thought on that, chairperson, is that, we utilize the executive committee on that, and if this motion is defeated, I think the understanding is what the public works is looking for is something to love to say, what's our timeline? When are we gonna make a decision to either renovate, move, or whatever? I think there's a broad enough group on that executive committee to do that. But I think we're at that point where I think there is a committee in place. If you want to create a new one, you can, it's making a difference to me, but I think that we either do that or we add it here and do an amendment to put in here that this will include looking at a new facility off-site or on-site, whatever. We could do that. And I think, and then I guess I'd have to ask the Public Works Committee, I kind of hearing from them, they're getting tired of it. Put it to somebody that's gonna make a decision, move forward. And I assume it's gotta go through executive anyway. Maybe that's a logical place to put it. And I know you've got Billy's on there too, so it's my thought.
Yeah, so we have, well, on the executive committee, we have two from the highway.
Right.
On that committee already. Stephen, you have next.
Yeah, just, I guess for clarification for me, I'd like to ask Andy, if I may, a question specific to the resolution that is referenced that was tabled, is my understanding. My understanding is unless it's taken up at the next meeting, it's done. But if it was postponed, that's different, and that there's a difference between postponing something and tabling something. Can you opine on that? Because I'm not sure that we can really take that up anyway. It died when it was not taken up at the next meeting of the county board.
The motion was by Van Raal, second by Cushing, to postpone resolution 55, 2015 indefinitely.
Okay, that,
So I think that answers the question.
I think so too.
Okay. Who's next here? Connor?
Yeah, I just wanted to make clear, I'm totally not opposed to renovating or rebuilding, relocating. I just think that the resolution is poorly worded in how it sits. I think we should come back with, and not negative, but I think it should come back with looking at the feasibility study, economic study, and then looking at potentially relocating, or if that doesn't make sense, if we can't find an offer, rebuilding or renovating on the existing site.
Mike?
It will not break my heart to kill this whatsoever. Like I said, politically correct, Mike Timmons is not all the time. I came into the highway committee that morning. I said, I'm sick of it. Blanker, get off the pot. And this is what came out of it.
You sound like a grumpy old man. So.
Like I said, this can is, there ain't nothing left in the can. It's worn out. It's been kicked too many times. We have to take it as a county board and act on it. However, a committee wants to do it, like I said. And that's where I came at that meeting. We're done, you know,
I think the point has been made on the county board for that the highway committee, and I think based on, like Rob said, we already have a committee, the executive committee. I think that would be something, since the chair of that committee sits on the highway, that Billy would put that on for discussion based on discussion today and see where it goes. Any other comments? Personally, I think we should vote this resolution down. It's too open-ended. It is not detailed out enough, and instruct the executive committee to research the concerns of the highway committee, the public works committee. Debbie?
I was just gonna say, I think most everybody here is gonna be on board with that once a good resolution comes in. So I think the discussion today has been very well for everyone to just have this pointed in our direction to have something to think about here.
Direct from the start, sure. Any other discussion, anybody? Steven?
Well, I mean, the last lines about the funding and timeline to be considered after the quotes received. It almost seems backwards to me, you know, like, we're gonna spend all this time getting quotes, and then what obligation do we have to actually develop a timeline or a funding? We may get quotes like we did in the past, and just saying, yeah, we'll sit on it and we'll just, you know, pretend it is what it is, and it does not sound like that's what we want to do. We want to have either definitive answers on, is there value to that property that now exceeds what we knew or thought it was in the past, so we can make a determination? That will play into funding, I'm guessing, and it could also play into the timeline. I mean, you don't just sell property overnight. It's gonna be involved, is my guess. The other thing is, if you want this in the pipeline, you want it in the timeline, I think this should be rolled into KIP for the next year. It should be part of those projects. It's a big project, but we're dealing with that. And if you don't put that in there, and you should look at it both ways. You should look at it as KIP as a whole new structure, or all these individual projects. And you may weigh the two during the KIP process and say, well, this makes no sense to do this piecemeal, because one, it'll probably take years to complete. And two, you still got a 70-plus-year-old building that you may not be satisfied with at the end of the day. So I think that's really the only definitive way you can bring answers back to this body to determine what they want to commit to in the future. And they're most likely committing to something that some other form of this body will be voting on, is my guess. Because I don't think you're gonna get any resolution to this in the next couple of weeks. This is probably gonna take a little while.
Connor?
Yeah, to Steven's point, on the renovations and how much, also extending the lifespan. I think it was the Barrios study, if that's how you say it. Yeah, that. They said that the potential useful lifespan increase from the renovations would be like 20 to 30 years. Well, we're 10 years into that, and we gotta think about if the complete building is end of life, and echoing the comments of those who have been there, the building is in rough shape.
So, and, the agenda comes out on Thursday afternoon late. I haven't had time, but I can tell you that between 2015 and 2018, I don't have those records, but between 2018 through 2023, we've stuck $2 million into that building so far. I don't remember what the 2024 costs were going in there, but maybe now, when you look at it, it's the renovation is switched, because we built the Bryan building. It wasn't in a renovation in 2015. And there's other things, that were brought up to date with the building, so I don't know what the answer is. All I know is that the resolution is too open-ended. I believe the Public Works Committee has got the point across, and I would hope that the Executive Committee will debate this. Steven?
Well, one other thing. I'll throw it out there whether it's appropriate or not, but there is talk within the city about them building a new building for their fire and police. Is it possible to have a multi-purpose between the city and the county? I mean, you'd probably cut costs significantly if you did something like that. One large structure that serves both Rhinelander and the county. I don't know what their dollar amount or what they were proposing, but it is a very serious proposal that they're considering. And so maybe it would behoove us to even talk to Rhinelander about that, potentially. What would their needs be? Could it be incorporated into a structure like this? Are there other counties that did that, where they have any kind of public safety type features incorporated into a public safety type building? And is it workable?
Like it.
Any further discussion? Mike?
One question. If we kill this, this is going to the executive committee without any action. Do we have to put it on for a future agenda item for you guys, for your executive committee?
I think Billy has heard it loud and clear. I think the point has gotten through the executive committee. I think we'll definitely be looking at the request. And we'll play ping pong or something in 2030 or whatever.
Will the executive committee put a timeline on it? Get the response back?
Yes.
Or is it gonna be 5 years down the road? Because we beat this horse to death. For over a half million dollars.
I think it only.
Where's it? Where's it? Can empty? That whole can.
We need a new can.
Well, my suggestion is that we, bring an update to the future county board meeting starting in November.
Yes.
Where the executive committee is with this. Okay,
That'd be a month out.
and that's as soon as.
That's the
we bring
budget
back-
hearing, you know.
I mean, it'll probably be a short thing, but we'll have a topic of discussion.
So we'll put it on
executive
November to
October.
update what the executive committee did in the past month.
Yeah, and ideally each month after until, there's action taken by the body.
Any further discussion on a motion, on a resolution, sorry? Clerk will call the roll.
Fryer,
No.
Ives,
No.
Sorgo,
Nay.
Reed,
Aye.
Condado,
No.
Ottinger. Hess,
No.
Fisher,
No.
Briggs,
No.
Showalter,
No.
Schultz,
No.
Almakinder.
Aye.
Harris,
No.
Simmons,
Aye.
Cushing,
Aye.
Lopez,
No.
Jensen,
No.
Couches,
No.
Newman,
No.
Kolowinski,
No.
4 16 no, 1 absent.
4 ayes, 16 no, 1 absent. Resolution 98. 2024 fails. The next meeting date will be November 12th, 2024 at 9:30 AM. The budget hearing will begin at 9:45 AM that night. And with that, I'll adjourn the meeting.